So, guess since I read the American actual Constitution, which, to be honest, you rarely hear many people mention it or talk about it. They always talk about the First Amendment. There aren't as many amendments as I thought there were. I thought there were like, over 70, but there aren't actually that many. I really liked reading the actual American Constitution. I still need to read those previous articles. So I think that the presidential election issue is very, very important. Ron Paul's put a video out saying that, we shouldn't argue about it. But, Robert F. Kennedy is concerned enough about it that he himself has been complaining about the election rules and regulations of the major parties. So he knows that there are issues there. And I think that is important and speaks for itself. There are definitely issues enough that he said there are issues with it. And that those issues are that prominent and important that he's had to go independent. So, and then his other statement that is really, really important is that he says that it's a two-party system that's been controlling politics for so long and it needs to be broken. And, that's the one great thing about being independent, although he was, in a way, part of that two-party system. But now, he's going on for declaring your independence. So he's actually also then admitting that, that there has been a control and manipulation. Now, when I read the First Amendment, this is what I gather from it, from my first impressions. And I did a really, really long 5-hour video going through it very slowly. But now I've been thinking about it. I think these points are important. So it creates the process of electing a president. And everyone basically goes to vote and they write down, this is how it works, right? So the people are petitioning the United States who is going to be the president because they are the ones who write it down. Okay? And in the original Constitution, it says that this is how it will be done throughout America. This is how it has to be done. This is not like, if it ain't done in a state, it's not done at all. If you don't do it in the States, you don't do it anywhere. This is how it is done all over America. And that is that people will go to vote and they will write down the name of the person they want to be president. And then each state will count all the names, and the person who gets the most votes from each state is the results are submitted to the federal government. I like this process and procedure. Why? Because it lends from the English law, and that is that elections should be free. Well, it not only means that you don't have to pay to vote, like you can't turn up and they charge you money, so only people who can afford to or rich people can vote, because otherwise, they would be charging you at the polling station to get in or whatever. But the process should be free, not restrictive or conditional, that, or anyone can come forward or anyone can be nominated. When it means it's a free process, it means there are no restrictions. Now, isn't really that, wouldn't that prevent these two-party systems from occurring? Wouldn't that prevent these two-party systems from even, existing? If everyone just writes down who they want to be president, and then, then there would be no possibility for any kind of, in England, Labour Conservative, or in America, Democrats and Republicans to even kind of form like that. it's almost like, YouTube and Google, we'll make up the questions and we'll make up the answers, It embodies everything about a completely total free process. Now, I think R.F. Kennedy pointed out one issue that I noted in his last videos that I thought was relevant to this. And he said that, people might make spelling mistakes or write their name down wrong. So, they might not know whose name you've written down or who it refers to. So, in the American Constitution, it says that the election will be run like this, and this is the format of it and how it's run, and by state rules. So it does mention state rules. Now, this is what I think's happened. I think those state rules have been taken out of context and misconstrued. And they've ended up thinking that they can make up the whole process in state law or rule. And they've forgotten the fact that actually how it's run and what you're doing in the process, which has to apply to all of America, what the format is. Now, the rules that I believe are subscribed to the state is what is actually set out in the Constitution, which is that the eligibility part of it. The whole, you have to be a US citizen for so long, or born in the United States, or natural born, and so forth. How they go about verifying persons, eligibility. You have to be eligible in the state, by state rules. Have you, lived there for a certain amount of time? Are you within the state or not? There's also a rule for, not a person of the state, or those are the state rules. I think they've misconstrued it. Checking eligibility. Now, it's a big thing. Even with the Stop Cop City petition for referendum, they had very strict rules. They make them all be registered, and then they made them write their names down. And if any details were wrong, then they were going, not accept it or whatever, but the reason why you have to have all the details, if you're not going to use those details, there's no point requiring them to be entered. There's no point requiring name, address, telephone number, zip code. There's no point requiring all those, and then, being a confirmed citizen with a passport registered with the government anyway. You're registered with the government, you're already registered with them. And then the thing is, in elections, the very reason why you have to have all your details with them is so they can contact you, right, to make sure you are who you are. And, this is the thing, confirming mistakes, confirming if they can't read the name, or confirming, just, I'm not sure who you voted for, can you check it? They seem to be doing this with Stop Cop City, but, wouldn't that be the point? And, back then there weren't as many people, so it was less people to check. But now with technology and so forth, it's all easier to check them all. There are a lot of these arguments over political exposure. People don't want to be politically exposed. You go in a booth and it's all secret. But I don't think that's true, because, there's people on the internet flying comments left, right and centre, like boo Trump, or, vote car now, or whatever it is. People... I think that's a myth, and I think it might have been created for that matter, to try and discourage people from talking about politics, even maybe. And to be honest, in England, right, I've been reading some of the old election rules, and actually they used to come round to your house. It was actually officials who used to go around, government officials who used to come around with the ballot papers and get you to sign them, or at least collect them. They delivered them and then come around and collected them. So you actually used to vote from home. Now, if you're voting from home, that means you're voting on your polling card, and that means that it's got the reference number on it, or the unique number, and that means that they know who voted and what it's registered. If they can't read what name you written down, then they can contact you to check it, right? In fact, it seems a damn sight better than the polling station. You all get a polling card through anyway. It seems actually insane that you all get a unique polling card through the post with a polling number to remind you to go to the polling station. You might as well just fill it in. And then they come around and collect it. Now, another thing about the English system, this is where it gets wacky, because if you did everyone does get a polling card, and it's got a unique number on it. That's all official. No one can mix anyone else's polling card up with anyone else's because it's got a unique number on it, right? Now, riddle me this. Why would you, right, after paying for the printing of all those polling cards, and then Royal Mail deliver them all for free, right, go down to a polling station, which, there's one in every village within walking distance, right? Walk into the polling station, hand the unique card over, check your name off on a list, then be given a blank sheet of paper or that's got a couple of boxes on it, walk into a booth, and then tick a restrictive box where you can only choose from, we'll give you the questions and we'll give you the answers at three people, then put it in a box. No one knows who completed it and filled it in if there are any errors on it. It's like you're trading in clarity for cloudiness. You're trading in a clear card for a blank card, a passport for a scrappy piece of paper. It's dumb. Now, at the end of the counting, when you've got all these spoiled ballots, they discount them. They don't even count them. How can you still even have spoiled ballots? Now, if there's a spoiled ballot and they don't know what you've written down on it, then, if it had the unique number on it, which is one you get through the letterbox, then they can ring you up to check or write to you to check. Because now, if they're officials appointed by the government, and why does it matter if they know who you voted for? You know what I mean? What is actually the big deal in who you voted for or not? To be honest, and they could have processes and procedures where they've got random people or random control blind volunteers who are going about checking with people who they voted for. Mrs. Johnson in, Tunbridge Wells by, random person B. I mean, come on, they're picking out people from juries at random to convict people in courts. So, if you get picked out 12 dozen of a jury in a court to convict you and send you to prison, I really doubt that it's going to make much difference. It's nothing to be ashamed of to get, a random jury of 12 people to ring you up to check to verify who you written down on your fucking polling card. I mean, come on. I don't think it is a free process anymore. It says elections should be free. But if you can only vote for 3 people on a card, that's not free. Surely that original Constitution of the United States, you're free to write down what you want. Now, what is the principle behind that? So the principle behind the Constitution of the United States in voting for the president is this, that it is the right of the subjects, the subject matter, to petition for whatever subject matter you want. That means that you can write down a vote for whatever you want. You can write, north, south, east, west, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. You're free to write down whatever you want. You're free for I can write any law, I can write any request, I can write any grievance, I can write any name. Well, that's what the right to petition is, ultimately. And you can't be held to any commitments for that. So, surely when you're petitioning the president, who's going to be the president, you got creative license to write down what you want. But what he actually has ended up with is these very selective boxes. And the excuse is, and also we're getting spoiled ballots as well. We're getting quite a lot of spoiled ballots, hundreds, sometimes thousands of spoiled ballots, which you wouldn't get those either. And the whole point in paying the government and paying taxes is to have people to check it. The majority of the processes are voluntary run anyway, and public funded schools that they use for polling stations. It seems a waste of money to me to send a polling card around to every house to remind you to go, which has a unique number on and your details, and then you just can't write down, in a box, whatever you want. Even write, this government's corrupt, I don't believe in this government. I mean, what happens if everyone write that down, I think that when it said, and other conditions as state laws facilitate, well, I think that is referring to when it said, it tells you, it says, there are some state rules like, were you a member of that state or not? Are you from that state? That's a state rule. Are you eligible? Are you a citizen of that state? Are you a citizen of America? Those are the state differences. Not the overall process is actually declared to be the same for the whole United States. It's a federal law. So how can you have different rules in different states when it's one same process? What the actual different rules in the different states are meant to be is not like, how much it costs you to get on the ballot or out a petition on the ballot. It's actually the eligibility of the electors. That's what it's about. The eligibility of the electors who can and can't vote. Those are state rules, which are different, not actually the process. Now, if there are any further amendments that have, changed that process, then, so fair enough. And I'm starting to think, I haven't read all of the amendments yet, but I'm going to do. I'm starting to think that we might not find them. Because what I think is they've got into this state rule thing, and then they decided that all the different states, it's not just for electoral eligibility, it's like for the whole process. And then they just ended up, just kind of, I don't know, just disregarding and blanking the fact that you can write what you want. At the end of the day, who's petitioning who? Are the United States citizens petitioning the White House or the federal government for who they want to be the president? Or, that's what I thought. I thought it's we the people who are petitioning the, White House. Because otherwise it seems that it's, the candidates who are petitioning the people. Are the candidates who want to be president petitioning the people to, make them president? I thought it was the people who, petition, the government, not the candidates. Because really, when you have candidates standing up, collecting signatures from the people, they're really like petitioning the people, aren't they? Really, they're trying to get the people to vote for them, but the people would vote for them anyway on the day. It's like a double process. It's kind of weird, I don't know how this getting on the ballot thing came about. It would be interesting to investigate it. Paying to get on there, that's insane, because elections ought to be free. They took that from the English Bill of Rights. Elections ought to be free. But it means not. It's not just financial freedom, but freedom of expression, creativity, which is what when you're writing a petition and you put pen to paper, which is the whole image of we the people and the pen image. That's the whole point. There's no box on that image. There's just lines of writing and a pen. So, and another thing is this. When you're arguing with YouTube and Facebook about, constitutional law, or apparently you have to go to court, that it can only be, a judge decides, the rule of law or can make orders. Well, I don't think that's the case in America, at least not for the Constitution, maybe for other enactments and state laws, maybe for state law, but for anything that says we the people on the top, who drafted it, it's declared, it's been framed, declared and presented as being written by the people, being made by the people. Even if it, the president makes it law, so what the king gives royal assent to stuff and Parliament, make it, but or we could propose stuff. If you have a document that at the top says, we the people hereby, blah, 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 then surely we the people have the legal authority to interpret that constitutional law, which means that, obviously probably not in state law, unless it says that on there as well, but it means that for fundamental basic rights, your liberties, that you got the right to interpret them, not a judge, which means that a judge can't say that you don't have a right when you do, when it's a fundamental constitutional liberty of the realm of the United States or of England. I'm starting to think in England as well, you know. So I can't see how, if it says "we the people" at the top of it, I can't see how you're not fit to interpret it, which means that if you go to court, all right, you might not have the power to make an order, but I don't think that the judge can take interpretation power off you, override it. Not for fundamental political rights, because you are you're enacted as a creator of that law, or as a drafter if you're a United States citizen, and they're pretty straightforward and simple to understand anyway. You know. And then, anyway, this lawful judgment of peers. The thing is, when you're starting to collect a lot of signatures, you're getting people agreeing with what you're doing. And when you're getting people agreeing with what you're doing, then, if anyone says, you broke the law or whatever, then so what? A jury can say that, you didn't break the law. That's what's been happening with Extinction Rebellion. You're getting lawful judgment of your peers beforehand when you're subscribing by oath or affirmation to the writ of what you're saying you're doing, or what you need to do in order, to achieve your objectives or proceed with the case or campaign. That's how I read it. And then obviously in the American Constitution it says that if you are exercising a right, then you cannot take away from another person's right. Which is why freedom of speech, you see, you've got the freedom of speech, but also another person's got the freedom of speech, which works as you can't, their freedom of speech cannot deprive your freedom of speech, and you can't deprive theirs. So that means that, that facilitates a debate and argument. Because that's what a debate and argument is. One person says what the hell they want, and the other person gives them their bloody opinion. And then they give their bloody opinion back, and then they give them theirs, and then they're free to... Otherwise, you can't have a debate. It's the fundamental essence and requirement to facilitate a debate is each of the parties engaged has the freedom of speech and cannot take away the freedom of speech of another party, or it won't work. So I can't see how you can override it. And I do think freedom of the press is to be used in order to air these things. So there might have been something else I was going to say, but I think that's it. So I'm going to have to read the other further amendments and see if they have officially did change the voting process. I've got a feeling they probably didn't. I've got a feeling that at some point they got all these states started thinking, oh yeah, we can do what we want state by state, and then it just changed. Maybe in one state or two states you can write down what the hell you want. I don't know, but I'm starting to think that they just lost the plot. And this is why we've ended up with these big power grabbing regimes in charge, that are just basically, Robert F. Kennedy's complaining about them, but he probably is not going to like this idea of, completely just write down what you want. But why complain that the system's wrong and corrupt and that, it's been held by a two-party system or whatever? If you want to, and then, say that it's unfair, and even he's been treated unfairly, he's saying, you might as well, go for the full Monty or the full original and, advocate that. It would be more, it definitely would be more, people would probably, like you better if you would, support the original method. I can't see any problems nowadays with, if you've written anything down wrong, because really, that's why you have to be a registered voter and why you have to be registered and why, Why wouldn't you have a unique card? I mean, it'd be more important to have like a code number on the card than, boxes with people's names in, and then at least they can, contact if there's any questions about it. But then that would mean that it's open season, and that would mean that there might be a chance of like people now in powerful positions getting in, like celebrities, Tom Hanks or God knows who. But this is why they've got control of the television, and so forth. You're not allowed to use main stations to, purport yourself in political advantage. Then you'd realise why they had certain restrictions. And then you'd realise what YouTube are doing in, making Mr. Beast more popular and so forth. And what happens if all the kids said we want Mr. Beast to be president? And then YouTube would be like straight on the red button going, whoa. I mean, unless it's gonna, it's gonna be YouTube, for breakfast and YouTube for, chocolate bars and prime drinks, which they probably, you can see them doing it. Mr. Beast for president, just twist the algorithm here. Then then there'd be wanting to censor some stuff where Mr. Beast is like, oh, this is me. He's got, but he's been favoured in the algorithms, But Russell Brand, he's had his funding pulled, he ain't got enough money to put any adverts out, This is it. You'll see how important it is about the TV and main stations and algorithms and control. Then you would know why they've had those rules for TV and so forth, and why it says any person, gaining favoritism or taking advantage, or at least on main stations, unless you're paying for adverts or getting sponsorship or whatever. But it would be bloody interesting then. I kind of like that original ideal. It definitely is trying to. What it's trying to do is it's trying to capture the essence of the right to petition, the right to get a pen to paper and write whatever you want on the paper, and it being a free process. Maybe people should come around the houses, I don't know, collect the ballots or whatever, but I don't think it matters too much. I think there's a hell of a lot of spoiled ballots, and why that is because now they've actually got it on purpose. So you don't know who filled it in, you don't know who filled the card in, which seems to me now ridiculous in the modern age. I've had a petition taken down unlawfully by 38 Degrees because some promoter put fake sign-ups on there, but I didn't do it. And anyway, they're just discounted, and he's not even Parliament, so he's not got a right to take my petition away from me. Without lawful due process. The same with YouTube taking my videos from me without lawful due process. YouTube is seizing people's videos and material when they're not even, there's no criminal charge and there's no civil claim. They're not taking your things off you and saying, right, I'll see you in court. I'm going to, go to the court that I've got the right to take these things from you. That's not lawful due process. They've got the policy is not law. The policy is not law. And even if you agree to their policy, they're not giving over affirmation of, oh, you've done something wrong. You haven't done something wrong against the law. And even if you've done something wrong against their policy, you're disputing it. You disagree with them. And half the time, their oath or affirmations are false because the claims are invalid. And that's giving a false statement and a false oath or affirmation. And also another thing is that it's through lawful judgment of peers. So even if you did subscribe to their policy, and even if it's not them who are making the claim against you, that they're claiming civil claim that they can take your things off you because of a policy violation, even then, who's judging it? There's no judgment of peers involved at all. It's YouTube. Oh, by lawful judgment of YouTube staff. Oh, I see. That's how it works. That's not a random jury of 12 people, is it? YouTube haven't got a leg to stand on with this. It's criminal. People have got videos, photos, things they haven't got backup copies of, and they just seized them off them because of a load of bollocks. Sexual content, which is not illegal, and then they've got other content on there which is worse. But people, we're not being treated fairly in law. Also, the 38 Degrees website as well are doing that. Even worse, because it's an actual government petition which they don't have any authority or jurisdiction over. So there's a lot of crazy things going on.